I love you, but I'll put a bullet in you to stop you from killing my mother.
You think you finally gonna kill me, huh? Well, you killed your father.
One thing we've learned about Power in 3 seasons of Ghost is that Saxe doesn't mind playing dirty, and as we bridge the gap between Power and Power Book 2 Ghost, we've also learned even if a character is dead, they can still influence the storyline and haunt the characters in different ways. In the past, we've seen Ghost making moves from beyond his grave, ones which are still having some level of impact on Tariq St Patrick. We all know what happened in Season 2 of Ghost, but in Season 3 we saw the Queen's Child project building helping Tariq. On the flip side, he's now also lost his trust fund. A last gift can also be a way for the storytelling to move forward, with a gift from a departed, and Cooper Saxe certainly left a few. He left a last gift in the form of 3 letters, one for Monet Tejada, Jenny Sullivan, and one for a character that the Power fans have been waiting to see for a long time, 2-Bit. Now, Saxe said from where he is now he can play just as dirty, and he definitely was, from planting false information to leaking locations. Saxe was looking to cause chaos for a family which put him through the dirt for 9 seasons of Power, the St Patricks, as well as the Tejadas. But Cooper Saxe didn't just leave everybody a gift in a bid to cause chaos. He leaked Tasha's location, which brought back a familiar face, Tommy Egan, a showdown which we all knew was coming at some point in the Power universe based on seasons 1 and 2's foreshadows. With the last gift we also saw Evelyn, who with a dying breath gave Drew some valuable information, Lucas Weston informing law enforcement to look into Crash Coin, and Diana finding Detective Whitman's files. So there were Christmas presents for everyone, but unfortunately Christmas was about to be cancelled. Now, we pick up from the morning after Cooper Saxe and Theo's death, as well as Effie being arrested. We follow Kane and Tariq, who are heading over to Davis's office with 2 completely different intentions. Kane was looking for help after he saw Effie being roped up for Lauren's attempted murder, while Tariq was here to try and find Tasha's location.
I know where Tasha and Yaz are, and if I die, that information does too.
At this moment in time, we didn't know if Saxe was lying or not, but what Tariq found was a copy of the police report he took a picture of in episode 5. Detective Whitman's case file of Lorenzo's fingerprints. But this is where Kane and Tariq came face to face, a showdown which I think we all knew was coming at some point in season 3. On Kane's part, I do think he was right. Lauren should have been taken care of, but Tariq wasn't wrong either. Ever since Tariq has come into the Tejada's life, he's been obsessed with Tariq St Patrick, and then we saw Tariq trying to strike first, which is something we've all wanted to see, Tariq throwing his hands. But Kane is someone who's grown up in the streets. Monet's built and nurtured him as a street soldier, and so it was no surprise he got the upper hand. After Davis stopped this fight, he took Tariq into his office, where he poured Tariq a drink, and I do think this was an important clue. Tariq didn't touch a drop of alcohol, not that he hasn't in the past, but I do wonder if this will play a significant role in Tariq's evolution. Ghost was someone who stayed away from alcohol until the moment he killed Roller, so maybe this is something just to keep an eye on. But Detective Whitman's case file was the hot topic, and Davis knew if Saxe had a copy, then the feds did too. Now, the reason why Davis kept this file was to prove Monet had motive to kill Lorenzo, if Davis ever needed to use it against Monet, which is smart, but also smarter on Tariq's part. He took the file and now he holds a smoking gun, something he may end up using to get rid of Monet if he ever needs to. With Effie, she was in a holding cell but was refusing to talk. She wanted her attorney, and Blanca Rodriguez and Jenny Sullivan knew she was going to be a tough cookie to crack. They then received a message from Agent Medina, who informed them of Cooper Saxe's death. No matter what many may think about Cooper Saxe, this was a sad moment in the Power universe, one which will definitely hit Jenny Sullivan. You get the sense, Jenny definitely takes a fair share of the blame. She said Saxe sacrificed his life and without him, there would be no case. But in terms of their case going forward, they knew everything rested on them getting Effie to flip, and if they didn't, their case was done. At this moment in the timeline, news was just filtering through to everybody about Cooper Saxe's death, and also Lauren being alive, and this was something that was always going to come back around to Brayden, especially when Kane saw Lauren. You can actually understand from Kane's standpoint why he came for Brayden in the way he did, and why he'd think he was a narc. Brayden told Kane around 3-4 times Lauren was dead, when in fact, she wasn't. But as Brayden laid in a hospital bed after Kane drove his door right into his ribs, he told Tariq he wanted one night off, just one. But we all know in this game, one is way too many. Brayden wanted to be in this game, and now he's in it. But both of them knew with Effie being arrested, they needed to be careful with their next move, because Brayden hit the nail on the head. She only cares about herself.
Now Effie got arrested, and you know her, she only cares about number 1.
Everybody was all over the place. Effie had been arrested, Brayden was in hospital, they had this RICO hanging over their heads, which Tariq was trying to get ahead of, and Lauren was ducking his calls. Meanwhile, they had to stall Obi because their Wall Street and Ivy League operation was on pause, and the last thing they needed was Cooper Saxe stirring the situation from beyond his grave. Even though we as the audience knew this was all lies, the Tejadas couldn't take that risk, especially when Diana read the part about Tariq setting her up to be arrested. Cooper Saxe knew exactly what he was doing. He was lighting a matchstick and trying to burn the drug dealing operation from within. Something else which was in this letter was Tasha's location, but we're gonna get to that later on, as well as Diana finding out some game-changing information. The move that Monet made with Gordo earlier in the season was beginning to raise questions with the Castillos. We saw Evelyn come into the bar not just to question Monet, but also to make a threat, and that's one thing you definitely do not do. You never threaten Monet Tejada, because we all know what mood she is in season 3. But Monet really was cold in the situation. Evelyn was coming to her as a mother because Gordo was missing. She had no idea whether her son was dead or alive, and she just wanted Monet to forget about the game for one moment and think about what she was going through as a mother. But what kind of mother is Monet? As much as she loves her kids, she treats her kids more like soldiers.
What am I to you? Huh? Your soldier or your fucking son?
You're both.
So this is an important conversation that we're going to come back around to, but Monet, Drew and Kane all knew what needed to be done. Although this was Drew's mess, he said he'll take care of it, and he did handle it in one of the most ruthless ways in wiping out the entire Castillo family. Later that evening, we saw Drew and Kane lock the Castillos in their cafe, sending some sort of poisonous gas through their ventilation system, something which killed all but one, Evelyn Castillo, who with her dying breath gave Drew a last gift. She told Drew that it was his mother, she wanted Lorenzo dead, and so now both Drew and Diana were piecing the puzzle simultaneously. When Diana confronted Tariq about him working with the feds and setting her up to be arrested, she realized Tariq wasn't lying. But this is where we saw Diana doing what Diana does best, snooping around and getting her hands on the information of Detective Whitman's report. Her and Drew were piecing the puzzle together around Lorenzo's fingerprints being at the scene of the crime for Zeke. They also believe Tariq told Monet it was Lorenzo because he had the file, IG not being responsible for Zeke's death. But Kane had the missing pieces of the jigsaw. He knew Monet had something to do with Lorenzo's murder, but when he brought it up to her, she threatened to kill him, and Diana was right. What was stopping Monet from killing them all? But there was no way they could let this slide. They had to confront Monet. Now, one thing you can guarantee season after season is an epic showdown with the Tejadas, and each one of them had a bone to pick with Monet. Drew said he killed the entire Castillo family. Kane said he lied, stole, and dropped bodies, and did everything she wanted him to do. And what did she do? She turned her back on him for Tariq St Patrick. And this comes back round to the conversation at the beginning, Kane's obsession with Tariq, which I do kind of get from Kane's perspective, but this wasn't about Tariq, this was about Monet's lies. But Monet completely flipped the script. She told Diana Lorenzo had a sent to Stansfield because she was nosy and had a sling in dope. She told Drew he had an IG jump him to cover his tracks, and she tried to completely turn this around on Lorenzo. But like mother like daughter, Diana wasn't holding back. She told Monet she was the one who killed everything good in this family, and if anybody should be dead, it should be Monet. Now while this was going down, Kane stood in silence. Sometimes silence is the loudest sound there is. It speaks through hurt, pain, anger, and it lets people know they've hurt you. It speaks through all the hurt when it's too painful to talk. But Diana was certainly expressing exactly what Drew, Kane, and Diana herself were thinking, and so they left Monet all alone, as she should be. Now over to business, the Ponzi scheme, and Brayden catching his first body in Power Book 2 Ghost, and it starts with Tariq and Obi. After Tariq met with Brayden at the hospital, he went to visit Obi to tell him they needed time to meet Nomar's profit targets. But in the midst of torturing someone, Obi said why should he deny the pleasure of watching Nomar kill Tariq? But we all know Tariq St Patrick too well. He has a really strong network around him, including men with influence. So when Obi said he needed green cards for his family in Nigeria, Tariq knew just the man, Rashad Tate. In this game, it's always favor for a favor, whether it be in the streets, politics, or boardroom. In return for the green cards, Tate wanted info on Western Holdings, because they wanted to put Tate on their payroll, but there were rumors Western Holdings were doing dirt. Now even though Tariq brushed this off, Tate could see straight through Tariq's lies, because he knew he was just like his father, and so it wasn't RSJ who blew the lid on the Ponzi scheme, it was Rashad Tate. He did so because not only would this look good for his political campaign, it also got him in the good graces of Harper. So fast forward to Western Holdings, we saw the FBI agents raiding the offices, and in a family meeting, Brayden admitted that Lucas was behind the Ponzi, but he did have Kiki's back. Although this situation has completely destroyed Tariq and Brayden, RSJ is someone who will probably be alright considering I don't think he's a man who puts all his eggs in one basket. Before Tariq, he's lost his trust fund. Everything that Ghost left for him is now gone. Everything that he was working so hard for since the beginning of season 1 of Ghost is completely dead. And to be fair, I don't think Tariq deserved to inherit what his father built anyway. I want to see him build his own empire and see what he can do himself. Now Tariq was giving Brayden no choice, Lucas had to be taken care of, but this conversation was intriguing in more ways than one. Brayden said he didn't want to end up like Tariq because he knew what he did to his father, and where Tariq called Brayden a hypocrite. If we were to be fair, Tariq does need to take a hard look in the mirror because he's also a hypocrite himself. For Brayden, the consequences were equally as devastating. The Western assets were frozen, Western Holdings is about to crash and burn, and despite Rebecca Weston urging Robert to give Lucas up, he stood his ground and stayed loyal to his brother, and he told Brayden, sometimes doing the hard thing is the only thing we can do, and we all know what that was. Dead is Uncle Lucas Weston. We then saw Brayden getting his location from Kiki, while Tariq did the same with one of Davis's contacts that he used in episode 1. But Lucas was trying to save himself. He called Agent Medina and told them in exchange for information on the drug operation that they were investigating on Wall Street, he wanted to be cleared from these Ponzi scheme accusations, and as a taster, he told them to look into Crash Coin. Now, Crash Coin was the way the customers were buying Brayden and Tariq's products. First they'd buy Crash Coin, and then they'd use the Crash Coin to buy coffee, which would be delivered to them with a product under their coffee cups. But Crash Coin was mainly the way Brayden and Tariq cleaned their cash. Unfortunately for Lucas Weston, before law enforcement could get back to him, he showed his cards to Brayden. He told him how his plan was to turn Brayden and Tariq in for the drug operation, and pin the Ponzi scheme on Robert and Kiki, and so this was the moment Brayden knew what needed to be done. It wasn't just him or Lucas, there were so many other people at risk, and I think he learned his lesson from last season. Loose ends need to be taken care of, and so in his first kill, he pushes Lucas Weston over the edge, and he crashes to his death. Now, elsewhere with law enforcement and Effie, she rejected Davis's help because he called it a no-win case, but the talking point from this short meeting was how it was clear, Effie still cared about Tariq. She questioned Davis about Tariq but stopped short and said never mind. So it wasn't Kane on her mind, despite him coming dressed in as a lawyer and asking her to flip on Tariq. It was pretty clear that she still has feelings for Tariq St Patrick, and all Kane ever was a rebound. For Davis, he's in deep. In the letter that Jenny received from Saxe, he told her to let it go and be free, something he told her in season 2. He knows how chasing the St. Patricks only ever ends in one way, and it just wasn't worth it. But this has only fueled Jenny further. She wanted justice for Saxe, and she went after Davis, because they saw him passing the note to Diana in episode 8. But the blame game has well and truly started for Saxe's death, and Davis may want to watch his back in episodes 10, as well as going into season 4, because he's now in deep just like Proctor was with Ghost. Now, one of the hot topics for 2 seasons has been where is 2-Bit? When was 2-Bit going to come back to collect? And finally, he was back. But he was back with some valuable information that cost Tariq 100k on top of what he already owes, as well as product and guns. But considering Tariq didn't have anything on him at this moment in time, he took his Porsche. Although I do think it was a price worth paying for Tasha's location, something which Saxe seems to have left both Monet and 2-Bit to fuck with Tariq St Patrick. Now on 2-Bit, I definitely do hope this is a beginning for a bigger story for him in season 4, and it does seem like he will be back because Tariq still owes him. I also think Tariq could do with someone like 2-Bit in his corner, so I really do hope Tariq and 2-Bit can sort something out. But over to arguably the moment of episode 9. With Tasha's location, Tariq drives and meets Yasmin, who's over the moon to see his brother, and from afar we see Tasha St. Patrick and Grandma Estelle. But around the corner comes a blue Mustang. Out he steps with black boots, and guns down 2 bodyguards as Tariq watches someone go inside. From around the corner, Tommy appears with a gun, ready to make good on his promise. At the end of season 1, he told Tariq he'll never stop coming for Tasha, and let's not forget Tariq's nightmare, where Ray Ray also warned him Tommy was gonna come for his mums, and here he was, looking to seek revenge for Lakeisha and Tasha snitching. Now how he found Tasha's location was thanks to Monet. In the letter that Saxe left, he gave her Tasha's location, and by feeding her false information that Tariq was working with the feds, he wanted to cause chaos. Just like he said in the letter to Jenny Sullivan, from where he was, he could play just as dirty. Now, Tommy said maybe Monet was getting on his good side, or maybe she figured out Tariq was a seed of the devil, and just before Tommy could pull the trigger, Tariq comes from around the corner, and so we were at a standoff, Tariq St. Patrick versus Tommy Egan. Now, Tasha tells Tommy that this bad blood needs to stop. They were the only family he has left, which we all know isn't true. Tommy's uncovered new family in Chicago with JP and D-Mac. But Tommy tells her family don't snitch on each other, they don't turn on each other, and they certainly don't kill each other. And this is where we hear Tariq warning Tommy, I love you, but I'd put a bullet in you. And Tommy doesn't doubt Tariq. After all, he did put a bullet in Ghost. But during this standoff, one of the bodyguards comes back in and takes a shot at Tommy, but misses. And as Tommy guns him down, Tariq has a jump on him. But just before he can pull the trigger, Tasha hits him around the head and knocks him out. Tariq then wakes up in hospital with Tamika by his side, who tells him Grandma Estelle and Yasmin are safe. But with Tasha missing, Tariq can't believe it. At this moment in time, his head must be spinning with all sorts of thoughts. Not knowing where Tasha is, not knowing where Tommy is, whether his mom is alive or dead. Answers which I'm sure we're going to get in Power Book 2 Ghost, Season 3, Episode 10.